I appreciate that. And I do want to touch on that. So Kinsey mentioned the word MSSP. It's what we are, managed security service provider. You're going to hear that term thrown around a little bit today. You're going to learn some new terms. Here's some old terms, but I'm really excited to talk about this topic here today. Information technology, IT versus InfoSec, information security. Well, first we'll jump right in. I don't know why that went off, but let's get this going. So first we're going to start with a question, a quick poll, but simple. It'll pop up. You can answer accordingly, but who is handling your cybersecurity? Is it your IT person, your IT company? Do you outsource? Is it you? Are you the person who is making sure everybody changes their passwords or making sure everyone is up to date with what's going on in cybersecurity? Do you use a MSSP, InfoSec team, or a lot of the time we get the answer, I'm not too sure, really. We're not too sure what we do for our cybersecurity. See, about 75% showing my IT person or my IT company, 25% showing MSSP. Well, we'll move on, but that's kind of interesting to see who you're relying on for your cybersecurity. But what we'll do first is jump into simply what is information technology? What do they do? So the definition of IT, of information technology, is simple out the book: the use of any computers, storage, networking, and other physical devices, infrastructure, and processes to create, process, store, secure, and exchange all forms of electronic data. Now, that's super wordy. A lot of people understand IT as the people who make our stuff work, the people who make our tech work. And for lack of better words, that is what they do. They are operations focused. They keep everything running smooth, making sure your monitor turns on or making sure you turn on your monitor. But IT, they are operations focused. They make sure the whole network systems work and everything is functioning properly. Another thing is communications. Of course, if you're a larger organization or smaller, you may have multiple office locations in a certain area. Well, of course, you may all have to access a server with data that you need to run your day-to-day business, or if you need to see clients and you need to pull up their information, things like that. Medical clients. You have to be able to have one interconnected network that's working smoothly and that doesn't go down. I know I actually recently spoke with a new client of ours, and before they came on to work with us as a partner of ours, they were having to restart their server every, I think, 2 or 3 days. And so that simple inconvenience, it put them out of an hour or two of work because just everything shut down and nobody could communicate, nobody had access. And so IT took care of that, fixed that, of course, but it's a communication issue. Another thing we don't think of is that IT is managing your technology assets. So technology is getting crazy today. Tesla's, touchscreen laptops, all kinds of things, but they get old and they have to be replaced, and they need to be considered as assets. And so what IT does is, of course, make sure everything's up to date and is as new as possible to keep your operations running smoothly, functioning correctly. But I do want you to realize that I keep going back to the word operations, moving, going smoothly, making sure they're working. And there's two different types of IT providers. There's a break fix that everyone has been using for a while now. It's they come in, they set everything up originally, and then you'll see them maybe or hopefully you don't see them for a while. But if something breaks, you call them, they come and fix it via the word break fix. But then there's now I guess you could call it a newer type of IT, a newer type of information technology way to run a business called managed IT. And so you'll hear the word MSP, which stands for managed service provider. And that's what a lot of IT organizations, companies are moving towards. They're moving away from the break fix, and I guess you could call it moving towards a more all-inclusive type of business. And so what that is they come in, set everything up, of course, and then they are continuously monitoring and managing that IT environment. So hopefully they can prevent the breaks before they happen, so then they don't have to come out and fix it. A lot of people go on to the break fix. It's breaks, they fix it, you send them a bill. Managed IT is more of the all-inclusive, one monthly bill, unlimited help desk hours, things like that, where they're just continually monitoring and making sure your operations are running smoothly. Now, what is information security? Well, by the book, by the definition, information security is simply protecting information and information systems from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction in order to provide integrity, confidentiality, and availability. It's big, long definition, but overall, you can just take it out of the title. Information security is focused on security. They are creating a security-first environment. Everything they do, they approach with integrity, confidentiality, and making sure whatever operation or whatever action is needed, that is done in a safe way. So their focus is making sure you have the best security tools available, making sure that you're compliant with the security requirements of your operation, of your type of business. They're making sure that you and them, first, you have to understand your current risk and vulnerabilities. You have to understand what you have to protect. Or, I mean, you're just basically throwing a dart out there, hoping to hit something. They have a certain, well, your information security team or team of professionals should start with helping you understand what they need to protect. And then from there, you develop a plan and orchestrate some security controls to take care of those risks and those vulnerabilities. And then from that, you have the tools in place to detect and monitor for changing threats. And I'll stick on this real quick because I think it was our first webinar of this deeper dive series. We jumped into why antivirus isn't enough. And everyone here may be using an antivirus or a tool as such, but I'll keep it short and simple. But antivirus, it just doesn't do it anymore. And any information security specialist will tell you the same thing. And that's because the way antivirus works, it's looking for certain virus signatures that are known to be malicious. And so for them to be known, they've had to have been active for maybe like 3 to 6 months, and they've had to have successful attacks. So then they can be whitelisted, and antivirus can be looking for those known malicious virus signatures. Well, we need something to monitor and protect us in real time. 36 months down the road that's not good enough. I need to stop an attack before any damage is done. And so from an information security standpoint, you have to upgrade your defenses. You have to change your security efforts to match the way and how cyber attacks are changing. And so we'll go into different tools, EDRs, things like that. But IT, that's not their main focus. They're focused on operations and then security. From an information security standpoint, they are taking that security first approach. It's in our world, it's security over convenience. I compare it to other firms and organizations. They may approach things from a convenience first, and then, okay, we'll deal with security down the road. That's just not doing it anymore. It has to be a security first approach. What do? They also make sure what you need, like we were talking about, understanding what needs to be protected. Make sure it is kept protected and kept confidential, keeping information that's supposed to be confidential, keeping it confidential. But they also adapt and change to what's going on in the world. And so I'll go into this later in the webinar, but information security specialists, they're day-to-day 24/7, keeping up to date with what's going on in the cybersecurity world, cyber threat world. And like I said, antivirus isn't good enough. Well, what is then? That's what information security specialists would know is, okay, well, then you need an EDR. You need something that doesn't rely on those virus signatures, something that we need a tool that can monitor in real time to stop those attacks before they're an issue. And so that's what you go to your specialist for. They know what's going on. They know where the threats are coming. They know how they're changing. They know that you have to have cybersecurity, and they're there to protect you. And so that's why they're information security specialists. And I do want to touch on one more point, that information security just isn't about the security tools, things like that. They go into compliancy and cyber insurance. A lot of organizations are being required to have cyber insurance policies now, but cyber insurance organizations aren't paying out because organizations don't have the preventative measures to stop a cyber attack. And so last year we saw cyber insurance claims not being paid out, or we saw hundreds of thousands of dollars are being paid out from cyber insurance organizations because of the increase in cyber attacks, and simply organizations weren't prepared. And so in 2022, cyber insurance policies, the premiums are skyrocketing, but the requirements from a security standpoint are getting stricter as well. They're requiring tools such as the EDR. Some even require you to have an information security team. And so information security isn't something new. It's just changing and becoming more important than ever before. I have a short video. We talked about MSSP, how it's a managed security service provider, different from the MSP. So you'll see those words thrown around, and here in 2022 and the years moving forward, a slide coming up where you'll have an MSSP team working for you, making sure everything's protected on your end, but also you'll have an MSP team, making sure your operations are running smoothly and taken care of. And the goal for every organization is have your MSP and your MSSP working together for you, making sure all your operations are running smoothly, but that they're protected and everything's going perfectly smooth in a safe way. I have a short video here just kind of briefly explaining information security. They kind of explain
information and data are exchanged by people, processes, and systems. Daily processes are virtually impossible to carry out without the processing of data and information. Information security ensures that people deal with reliable information and data regarding confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and is an important prerequisite in the pursuit of a better and, above all, more reliable service offering. Failure of computer systems, databases falling into the wrong hands, or the abuse of confidential information can have serious consequences for organizations, businesses, and citizens. These include loss of image, compensation claims, and even political consequences. An information security management system is how you ensure information security within an organization. Think of information, risks, business tools, norms, the process of information security, but also the business and IT processes. How do you ensure that this enormous playing field is visible and under control? How can you ensure that information security becomes an...
Now, that's a brief description of information security, but it kind of hits all the points that talks about the risks that come with not having your organization secure, not having the proper controls in place to protect not only your organization, your clients, your employees. But this chart here kind of moves into the section of what organizations are going to look like, what their org charts are going to look like, and may look like now. In some of your organizations, the titles may look a little different. You may not have an InfoSec. It may not say InfoSec, but it may say like CIO, a Chief Information Officer, or a CISO, a Chief Information Security Officer. But I show this because originally you may have seen an org chart where it has CEO, and below that, IT head, accounting head, operations head, marketing head, and then information security reporting to IT. Well, we talked about creating a security first culture now. And so the finance guy or IT guy may go to accounting, hey, we need this, this, and this. Well, the finance person, well, it's too expensive. We can't afford that. Maybe later down the road, maybe years down the road. Well, from a security standpoint, that information security specialist needs to be like, okay, well, if we can't afford that, here's the risks that are going to come with it. If we're putting convenience over security, we need to be prepared to accept the risk of a possible breach, or maybe not even being compliant, or maybe not being HIPAA compliant. That's what an InfoSec specialist is thinking about. IT, accounting, they're not thinking about those things. And so now we see this new org chart where there's a CEO, and then under that, InfoSec, accounting, operation, marketing, things like that are all on the same level. And IT is reporting to information security. They're reporting to that head because we're creating that security first culture, approaching everything with, okay, are the doors locked? Are the passwords being changed? Or do we have strong passwords? Are the backups being monitored? And then going to an operation standpoint, putting security over convenience. Which brings us to the point, well, what's the real difference between InfoSec and IT? It comes down mainly to the objectives of both. IT, they're following a more fix it first approach, then we'll deal with security. Information security is following a secure it first approach. IT, fix it first. Information security, secure it first. They both have a different specialty. I like to think of it kind of from a medical view. You see, say you have a heart attack, knock on wood. I'm a young man. I had my Brussels sprouts and green beans last night, but I want to make sure no bad luck on me. But say you have an illness, a heart attack. We'll just go with heart attacks, very specific. Well, there is a heart surgeon and a brain surgeon. So they both work in the medical field, but they both have different specialties. Now, specifically for myself, I've watched enough of Grey's to know the Grey's Anatomy to know what the difference between a brain surgeon and heart surgeon and how they operate. And so specifically for my body, I would pray and hope that that heart surgeon would be available to operate on me. because I would have the best chances of being safe and healthy. Same thing for IT and InfoSec. Now, they both work in the technology realm, but they both have their different specialties. And we learned about it, like information technology. They're responsible for hardware and different softwares and the network components, staying, operating, and being functional for organization. But information security is main responsibility is protecting that network, protecting that data and the assets within the organization. I mean, we've seen increase in ransom attacks like crazy just here in the past year. And I believe it was last June, the percentage was 38% of organizations. Yeah, 38% of organizations experienced a ransomware attack in 2021. Well, by the end of 2021, beginning of this year, that percentage has jumped up to 48%. And so it's almost a flip of a coin chance that your organization is going to experience a cyber attack or a ransomware attack. And so you have to have the proper security in place to combat that, to be ready, to make sure that the organization that you've been working to build for the past 10, 20 years doesn't just crumble to nothing in a matter of a day or 2 hours. Really, it depends on the attack. Like that's what we're seeing. But if you have the mindset of a security first culture, then you're ready, you're prepared, you have your ducks in a row, you'll be all right. And so that's why it's so important to create that security first environment, because cybersecurity, cyber attacks and cybersecurity, it's not just a little thing anymore. It's not going away anytime soon. It's something that organizations and ourselves, we're gonna have to live with and prepare for and adapt to from years moving forward. Got a little off track. It's very important to me to secure not only your organization, but of course your employees and like water associations. We've been working a lot with them. They are protecting. A community relies on them, and so taking security first. That's extremely important. But when we dive into the differences, of course, managed security, service provider, managed service provider, but overall, both are necessary. They're not going anywhere, but they both should be treated separately because of their specialties. And every organization needs and has to have both. But it's the simple step of taking that step. Okay, I have IT. Now I really need to focus on information security. I need to secure my organization. And so you can see this next slide is actually a piece of ours regarding the difference in basically what to expect from your IT and your MSP and your security specialist, your MSSP, excuse me. So you can see your IT person should take care of help desk, managing your network, your desktop, excuse me, making sure your patches and updates are taken care of on patch management, things like that. That's also a security responsibility as well. Talking about software updates and patch updates. Most of the time in those patch updates and software updates, there is a security feature that needs to be updated. And by simply ignoring, a lot of time people see, oh, I have an update coming up, I'll get to it tomorrow or 2 days down the road. You're at risk during that time. By putting it off, that's where you're most at risk. And from a security standpoint, your MSSP, your information security specialist, that's important to them. They will make sure that you update, or they may even have the ability to update it for you. But that's just the way they think about it. You see deployment and management, making sure you run as efficiently as possible. That is the goal of your IT. Now, as MSSP, you see security awareness training. making sure your front line of defenses, which is your employees, are up to date. They're trained on cyber threats, where they're coming from, how to protect not only themselves, but your organization from them, from those attacks as well. It says making sure they have, there's a plan, a security response plan in place, making sure those processes and procedures are ready to go. If something does happen, no problem. We're up and running. We're taking care of it. Privacy, it's key. That's what they're about: security and privacy. Monitoring, detecting those threats. You can see this is a good list to refer back to. If you need to take a screenshot, I would advise it. But this is what you should expect from your MSP, your IT provider. And this is a list of things you should expect from your managed security service provider as well. Well, what do we do from here? Okay, I have IT. I know I need InfoSec. What's the next step? Where do I start? Well, it's simple. You speak with the information security specialist. You speak with someone that's day in and day out dealing with cyber attacks, dealing with the way cyber threats are changing 24/7, actually in the field protecting organizations. You speak to them. You see right here, there's a link to where you can schedule a meeting directly connected to my calendar. There's an email. There's also my personal line up there. Please call at any time. That first meeting, like I said, it's not, okay, you need this, we need this. No. Like I said, there's a process. This, you have to understand what you have to protect. You have to understand where your risk and vulnerabilities are. And then from that, from a professional standpoint, you have to orchestrate and develop that plan to make sure all ends are met. Make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, what you should be doing to protect your organization, your clients, your employees, and for some of you, your community, making sure you're doing your part. Recently, well, I'll save time for questions and then I'll get into it in a second. Does anybody have any questions, or is there a part you'd like me to touch on a little bit more? Hey, Jan from out there in Alabama, thank you I see you in the chats. Kinsey has put the link actually in the chat box if you need to schedule a meeting. But I'll leave some extra time for questions. I know we got about 2 minutes left on here. While we're waiting on questions, I do have just a quick story. So Ann Newberger, she released a White House letter. She works with the NSA and is head of cybersecurity and all these different titles, but she is a cybersecurity specialist. I'm here to protect and help advise protecting our country. But one thing that stood out to me that she said, and we've been hearing it a lot recently, is that cybersecurity, especially with everything going on around the world, cybersecurity isn't just one person's problem. It's not just the government's problem or anything like that. It's everyone's responsibility to protect the organization and do their part. It's everyone's responsibility to take cybersecurity serious. In you've hearing things about critical infrastructure organizations, things like that. I mean, there's laws being in place where currently in motion where you may even have to report that you've experienced a cyber attack within 72 hours of it happened, or you even have to report within 24 to 48 hours that you've made a ransomware payment. Now, those things are happening. These things are changing. Cyber threats are changing, but it's serious, and it is everyone's responsibility. And so, you know what you need. You know that's important. You know where to start. Like I said, so this deeper dive series, we're talking on different topics every single week, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central Time. And so, if you missed the ones before, of course, you can still go watch recordings, as well as we have the next one coming up next Tuesday, same time. We'll make sure you get the invite, share it with your friends, your colleagues. But security awareness is the first part, is the first step, and then acting on it is the second. And so I appreciate everyone coming. If there's no questions, I'll double check.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on here.
All right.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. Next Tuesday, Stavin's going to be presenting on 5 things you should know about password managers.
Yes.
All
Very, very
right.
good topic. It'll be good.
Everyone have a great afternoon and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.